whatever you call it, copyright. So it gives us trouble on our recordings. So good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to our monthly series, Self-Care Isn't Selfish, Heal Yourself, Your Family, and the World. And my name is Myrna Lepre, and I'll be your MC today. So I'm not sure if you will need it, but if you have something to write on and with a pen or pencil handy, it might be a good idea during our presentation. And for those of you who have attended our presentations in the past, you already have heard that we are a group of coaches trained by Hilda Weinman of Generational Healing, as well as members of Women's Federation for World Peace. And we feel inspired to combine our coaching and healing work together with the vision of WFWP, which is women working together to establish a culture of heart in the family, community, nation, and world in order to achieve genuine and sustainable peace under God. And through I guess this is maybe 2.5 years now that we've had regular webinars, we have become a community of support for each other as we meet each month. And we'll send out a newsletter following this presentation, and all of our past webinars are on YouTube. And our community and participants come from all walks of life, and we represent various cultural and religious backgrounds. So we just ask that in all of our conversations today that we use inclusive language that respects both our similarities and our differences. And if you can, ideally, we'd like to ask you to keep your camera on so we can see you. So today, I have the privilege to introduce our guest speaker, Betty Blanc. She's living in California, and she's a licensed marriage and family therapist who believes in helping clients achieve their personal goals to improve their lives and enhance their relationship. And she's trained in using the Gottman method for couples therapy and emotional focused therapy for those in crisis. And when I read through on her website, which I'll share with you on the follow-up email, she's worked in school settings, residential treatment centers. She was a program director for an adult resident facility, married for over 20 years. She has 2 adult children. And today she's going to be guiding us and speaking to us about how to be a good listener in any relationship. So I'm going to now turn it over to Betty.
Thank you, Myrna. I appreciate that introduction. Hello, everyone. That was very thorough. Actually, I was going to introduce myself as well, but I kind of don't need to. But I'll go over some of the basics. I am an LMFT. I'm licensed in California. So grateful to be here, by the way. So thank you so much for asking me to be a guest presenter. I'm really excited, and I'm really hoping that whatever you can take away this information for today, then it's useful in your lives. But yeah, so I work. I'm licensed only in California, and I work virtually with clients. So I work with anyone who's located in the state of California. And my background does include working with youth and adolescents in the school setting. I worked particularly with students who had IEPs, so a very special group of students. The residential facility for mothers and for women in addiction recovery, and I was a program director in an eating disorder residential facility. As far as the Gottman method couples therapy, I am level 3 trained with Gottman, and I have worked almost exclusively with the couples in my private practice for a year. Actually, sorry, I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation. Forgot about that part. Make sure it's playing. Okay, good. Thank you. Let's do this. Okay. Get myself organized here. Okay. I am an OCD specialist. I have worked with individuals diagnosed with OCD and co-occurring disorders. I've worked with them for for 3 years now. So recently, I've merged my two specialties of working with clients with OCD and working with couples because I found that OCD really impacts the relationships on a very deep level. And so I wanted to be able to help partners and families to be able to navigate that disorder within their relationships. I've also worked with couples who are neurodivergent and diagnosed with ADHD or ADD. Let's hope this works. There we go. Okay. So today I'm going to be talking about how to be a good listener in any relationship. So although I specialize in couples therapy, I think that these tools and these interventions typically they can also be used for any kind of relationship. So we're talking about siblings, parents, children, friends, coworkers, because really in any relationship, when we want to communicate and have a conversation with someone, we're looking for the same thing. We want to be heard. We want to be validated. We want to receive empathy for what we're experiencing. We want to know that the person we're speaking to is really paying attention to us, cares about what we're saying, and is interested in what we're saying. So when you hear me say couples, please know that I am talking about any of these types of relationships. So since my main type of therapy that I use for my clients is the Gottman method couples therapy, I wanted to give a little bit of a background about who the Gottmans are and why they are the leading experts in couples work. And some of you may already are familiar with them, some of you are not, but I just wanted to do a quick review. So doctors John and Julie Gottman, they are a husband and wife team. They've been married for over 35 years, and they are world renowned for their research on marriage and relationships. They co-founded the Gottman Institute and the Love Lab. And the Love Lab is where they studied hundreds of couples over a period of many years back in the 1970s. And the way they did that was that they built an apartment and had couples live and go about their daily lives as they're being monitored and recorded for research. So they watched the couples interact while they were cooking meals, eating together, sharing downtime, doing chores, etc. They observed their facial expressions, their heart rates, their blood pressure, skin conductivity, and especially the words that couples use in conversation with their partners. And so it's through that extensive research that they developed their methods of the Sound Relationship House and the Four Horsemen, among other of their interventions.
Mm.
The goals of the Gottman method couples therapy are to disarm conflicting verbal communication. So it's the verbal communication that I'm really going to focus on today because it's the first step in creating that foundation for conflict resolution. They had other goals like to increase intimacy, respect, affection, removing barriers that create that feeling of stagnancy and create a heightened sense of empathy and understanding. But it's really that communication that I want to talk about today. So the Gottmans identified two types of problems when they studied these couples. There are solvable problems that can be resolved. And then there's the perpetual problems, which means they'll be a part of your lives forever in some form or another. We identify this as the couples being gridlocked, having that same argument over and over again and resolving nothing. So if you look at my picture here for perpetual problems, most couples have not had hundreds of arguments. They've had the same argument hundreds of times. Okay. So now I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to put a poll out to the audience. Which problems do you think we experience more of and by what percentage? So it's a two-part question. I'm going to have Myrna put that poll in for everyone.
Can you see it?
Not yet.
Okay, so I think something happened here. Hold on. Let's see. Maybe can I relaunch it?
Can I ask a quick question?
Betty, can they ask?
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
So if, say, for example, if someone chooses solvable problems, and then the second question, by what percentage? So we're saying our solvable problems are, for example, 75% of all our problems.
Yes,
Is that okay?
exactly. Yeah.
Thank you for the
Thank
clarification.
you.
Oh, Roseanne, could you see the poll?
I can see the poll. Yeah.
Okay. But Betty, you can't.
I don't see the poll, but maybe it's the way I'm viewing it. Or actually, let me see. Yeah, I don't see a poll.
Okay, but everyone else see it?
No, I don't see it. It says we are viewing Betty Blanc's screen.
Yeah, but the poll should pop up on top of it.
No, I did before.
Oh,
Studying the post. Yeah.
okay. So it says 6 to 8 people. Maybe Betty, can you just stop sharing for a second and let's see if that makes it better. Okay. Can everyone see it now?
No, I just see everybody. Just see a view of everybody's faces.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
What about others?
Well, it says 6 to 8 of the people answered it. So,
Well, I did already fill it out, so.
oh, you did. Okay. All right. So let me end the poll and then we'll see. You should share the results.
Okay.
Do you see the results now, Betty?
I do.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Can I share my presentation again?
Yes. So I stop sharing this?
I know I want to see the poll. Am I still able to see the poll if I share my screen?
Let's try it.
Otherwise, you'll have to let me know what the results are.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Interesting.
Let's see. Okay. Oh yeah, I can still see it.
Okay.
Great. Okay, so let's see. We had 33% of you say perpetual problems. We have more perpetual problems, and then 67% of you said that we have more solvable problems. And then let's see, half of you said by 75%. Okay, well, it's actually perpetual problems that we have more of, and by 69%. So 69% of marital conflicts fall under the gridlocked category. So,
Is it okay if I stop sharing now?
yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Verna.
Sure.
Okay. So perpetual problems wins, unfortunately. So you can imagine this can create a lot of pain and suffering. There's a lot of frustration with couples, anger, that losing hope, which I see a lot of with the couples who come into my office. They have that loss of hope. So signs of gridlock, signs that you are in a gridlocked situation is the conflict makes you feel rejected by your partner. You keep talking about the conflict, but you make no headway. You become entrenched in your positions and are unwilling to budge. When you discuss the subject, you end up feeling more frustrated and more hurt. Your conversations about the problem have no humor, there's no amusement, there's a lack of affection between the two of you. You become even more unbudgeable over time, which leads you to vilify each other during conversations. And it's this vilification that makes you all the more rooted in your positions and more polarized and less willing to compromise. Eventually, you end up just disengaging from each other emotionally. So solvable problems, they may sound simpler in this picture that I have. You have the husband saying, wait, sorry, I can't even read my own thing. We have no clean cooking supplies. The wife says, I guess we should wash them then. The husband says, or we could order delivery and wash them tomorrow. Boom, easy, solvable problem. They're not all that simple, unfortunately. And they can also create a great deal of pain in any relationship. Just because it's solvable doesn't mean it gets resolved or that it's easily resolved. All right, so now it's time for a pop quiz. I'm going to spend the next 3 slides giving you a few vignettes, and you'll get a chance to put in your answer of whether you think these issues are perpetual or solvable. These vignettes are taken from John Gottman's book, The 7 Principles for Making a Marriage Work. So the first one is, Cliff and Lynn agree that it's Cliff's job to take out the kitchen trash every evening after dinner, but lately he's been so distracted by a big deadline looming at work that he forgets. Either Lynn ends up throwing out the garbage herself or the trash just sits there. By morning, the apartment smells like a city dump and Lynn is furious. So is this a solvable problem or a perpetual problem?
So I'm going to launch the next poll,
Thank you.
and you're going to vote one way or the other.
And this one I see.
Okay. Okay, we'll give it just another 30 seconds if you can go ahead and vote if you haven't.
I think I need you to define what you mean by perpetual problem. I mean, I know what the word perpetual means, but in this context, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so the perpetual problem, and I'm not sure who asked that question, but that's okay. It's one of those, it's the same problem you keep having over and over again, and you can't ever come to an agreement. And it's something that lies really deep within, and it's difficult to come to any kind of a compromise.
Okay,
Does that help?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll so you can see the results.
Yes. Okay. 100% of you said solvable and you got it right. It is solvable. So Cliff has stopped taking out the garbage only recently and for a very specific reason that's not deeply related to relationship dynamics. He's under a lot of stress at work. This problem can be solved in any number of ways. For example, they can put a sign on the refrigerator door to remind him, or they can switch out the duties for that period of time that he's stressed out at work until his work deadline passes. So very solvable. Good job, everyone. All right, so the next one is Penny complains that Roger expects her to do all the work taking care of their newborn son. Roger says he'd like to do more, but because he works during the day, he isn't as experienced as his wife at diapering, bathing, and the like. Whenever he does try to do something like pick the baby up when he cries, Penny tells him he's doing it wrong. This makes him angry, and he ends up telling her to do it herself. Is this a solvable problem or a perpetual problem?
Do you see the poll?
I do.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay, we'll give it another 30 seconds. Go ahead and vote if you haven't already.
This is difficult, this one.
There's no punishment for getting the wrong answer, so that's okay. We're all learning.
Are. You learn better when you get it wrong.
Okay, so I'm going to end the poll, and you should see the results.
Okay. So 75% of you said perpetual. It's actually solvable. Roger just needs to spend more time with his son so that he can get up to speed on his care. Penny needs to take a step back and let Roger approach baby care his way. Because this issue is not related to any deep-seated needs either of them has, it can be readily solved through compromise. All right, last one. Jim wants Thea to be more organized. He doesn't like it that the house rarely gets cleaned unless he attends to it and that the kids don't get to school on time. She thinks he acts smug and superior to her and gives her the sense that the disorganization in their house is due to a character flaw that she has. She feels attacked and gets defensive whenever he raises the subject. She says their house is supposed to be a home, not an army barracks, and that he needs to relax about these issues because his demands are unreasonable. They have been arguing about this for 4 years. Is this a solvable problem or a perpetual problem?
Oop, sorry, I shared the wrong one. Let me go back. Oh, well. Can you see it?
Um,
Yeah, we have three of them, but
I
yeah,
know.
no
So,
problem. No problem. Yeah.
yeah, just answer the same answer for all three. I forgot that I made three on this one.
Okay.
Hopefully it's, oh, we have different answers.
or can we just have them answer the third one for the third vignette? Will that work?
Looks like most people answered the first one already, so we can just do it. We can just use the first one.
Okay.
Or the second one? Sorry, my mistake.
That's okay, Myrna.
Okay, we'll give it 30 more seconds.
Should we clarify what everyone answered? If they answered the vignette number 3
Okay,
as this.
okay, number 3 only had one person. Oh no, 7 people answered it. Yeah, it's interesting that we have different. Okay,
They may have been answering putting their previous answers in.
yeah,
So I'll just go by the third one.
okay. All right, I'm going to end the poll.
Okay.
See the results.
All right. Everyone gets an A. It's a perpetual problem.
Yes.
Great job. So this problem probably started out as a situational one about house cleaning and organization. Perhaps Jim and Thea have different tolerance levels for clutter, dirt, and how planned out one's life should be. But because they haven't found a compromise position, they have continued to argue about these differences. So Thea has come to feel that her husband doesn't value or respect her, while he feels that she's not holding up her end of the marriage by keeping the house well organized. So this argument has become about their mutual resentment rather than about the housekeeping. So
Hmm,
great.
interesting.
Yeah. All right. All right, let's talk about rules of engagement during conflict. Um, So, though it does seem sometimes that maybe we don't want to address these negative emotions, we want to avoid them because they cause us stress. But actually, there's a very important function in any relationship, especially when the anger, the sadness, the disappointment is directed right at you. Negative emotions hold important information about how to love one another better. So in therapy, I teach my couples ways to express their negative emotions without making their partner feel attacked. It opens up a pathway to healing. And that's what I'm going to be teaching you today, these methods. So the Gottmans say no one is right in a fight. I like to say that both parties are right. I think there's just truth in that. But essentially, the takeaway is that there's no absolute reality. There's only two subjective ones. And that acceptance is crucial. It's important to be able to simply accept our partners for their personality traits. We need to understand, respect, and accept our partners for who they are. Make sure they feel seen and respected rather than criticized or demeaned. For instance, there's a difference between saying, "What are you doing? I can't believe how reckless and irresponsible you're behaving right now," versus, "I know you enjoy driving fast, but I get really nervous. So could you please slow down?" Right? So that first response is done carelessly without any regard for our partner's feelings. The second one requires us to really slow down, take a little bit longer to craft a thoughtful response. This takes practice. So I like to say it takes awareness and practice. You have to be aware that you're even acting a certain way, doing these behaviors and saying these words rather recklessly. And once you're aware of it, then you need to practice on how to change that method around and be more thoughtful about your language. Then there's fondness and admiration. So reminding yourself of your partner's positive qualities, showing that your partner is worthy of honor and respect, expressing gratitude for them, for things that they've done, for who they are, anything that you can think of to be grateful for. Gratitude is so important in a relationship. And that's what really creates that fondness and that admiration between the two of them, any relationship. So the conflict blueprint, this is created by the Gottmans. It's really a series of interventions that help couples get to a deeper understanding of that acceptance of their personality differences when it comes to those perpetual problems. And it enhances listening skills in order for them to be able to come up with a compromise for any kind of problem. So for any conflict, whether it's perpetual or solvable, we need to start with listening and validation first. No one can engage in persuasion until both parties can state their partner's position to the partner's satisfaction. So the goal is to slow down, take turns, and check in with each other. So for those gridlock problems, I go a little bit further with my clients and I explore each partner's dreams and honor their dreams with dialogue, understanding, and that acceptance goes a little bit further. I just wanted to mention that. I'm not going to go into that. And then the compromise and problem solving happens with, again, there's another intervention called the art of compromise, where the couple can discuss their core needs and their areas of flexibility. I just wanted to emphasize that compromise cannot happen until we understand the core needs of our partner, which happens with that good communication. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to, Myrna's technically going to set you up in breakout rooms, but I'm going to give you the instructions. I'm going to have you partner up with another attendee, and I want you each to spend 5 minutes talking about any topic of your choice. What you plan to do over the weekend, your most recent vacation, any problems you're having with someone in your house, anything at all. The speaker's job, and you're going to take turns. So the speaker's job is going to focus on talking about yourself in any way. Don't ask any questions to the other person. Just keep talking about yourself. Okay. The listener's job is to act distracted. I want you to check your phone, yawn, close your eyes, look in another direction, pretend to talk to someone else or actually talk to somebody else off camera, attend to pets, attend to children, turn off your camera for a little bit of time. Anything where you feel it would look like you're not paying attention. It looks like you're distracted. Okay. The speaker, I want you to keep talking no matter what the listener does, but I want you to really take note about how you're feeling. Okay. This is where your notepad comes in handy. Write down what you're feeling, what thoughts you're having during the conversation, because we're going to use that information for the next breakout room. But I want you to take note and really be honest. Okay. So whenever you're ready, Myrna.
Okay, so you're going to have 10 minutes and I will message you when it's 5 minutes and it's time to switch. Okay, so we'll open the breakout rooms. Oh, sorry. Are there any questions about Betty's instructions before we go?
What is the question we're answering?
You are talking about whatever you want to talk about. If you're in the speaker role, you talk about whatever topic you want. Just keep talking about it.
So the idea is the listener is distracted. They're not really.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Opening the rooms now. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. Pause the recording.
All right. So, is anyone feeling flooded right now? Do you
Oh,
feel like your emotions are a little out of control or elevated? Do you have trouble thinking clearly? Is your heart racing? Any kind of sweating? shaking, having difficulty breathing, you're welcome to unmute yourself and share what your experience was. So I'm curious to know if anyone was feeling flooded during that breakout room.
Yeah. No.
Okay, go ahead, Svetlana.
I think if we continue our assignment, we will be feeling like this, but we quickly escaped. Because it was so hard to continue. We quickly switched. We couldn't talk like this for 5 minutes. It was so hard. We just talk for a little bit, and it was even hard to continue. And we just switched to we just escape assignment because it's so hard to continue. We couldn't talk for 5 minutes. So like this, yeah, it was impossible.
Was it because the other person was being distracted, or you ran out of things to say?
Because when as a person distracted, you just feel like no point of talking. You just like cannot talk. Like there's no point. Like
Yeah, it became futile. And yeah. And
Mhm.
it didn't really, to me, it didn't seem natural. I mean, nobody's that bad of a listener. At least not in my experience, thank God.
Okay.
I would like to speak. I found myself feeling I was in a monologue, and I knew she was kind of listening, but her direction was to be distracted. So I just kept talking, and I started feeling more empathy. I used to be a 211 call taker for 56,000 calls, and I started having more empathy for the people that would go on and on and on and on because I started realizing, oh, I don't care if she's listening. I get to say what I want to say about this topic. And it helped me vent. So I didn't feel as flooded as I felt sorry for the other person. But also I started realizing, oh, but I could feel very isolated from this experience and lonelier.
Good observations. Good.
I think it didn't happen in today's exercise, but I think oftentimes cell phones create that distraction. So even I can tell when I'm talking to one of my kids on the phone and they're doing something in the background. They're going, uh-huh, but they're not really listening. I can tell, and that makes it difficult for me.
I felt, oh, this is how, see, my husband passed away 3.5, 4 years ago. But this is how my husband was when I'm ignoring other person. This is how he did, or it was natural. It was so funny. I never thought about that.
So gaining a different perspective.
Yeah.
Good. Anyone else?
For me, I was not really sure what to share because I didn't know if that person was interested or not in what I was talking about. So I kind of just felt like I was maybe rambling. But yeah, so there was sort of that feeling. But I realized also that sometimes when I'm listening, I'm already distracted sometimes. So I didn't have to do a lot extra, so but I mean, there's so many distractions that come just naturally sometimes.
Yeah. Takes work to really focus, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for all of that feedback. That's really wonderful. And just in preparation for the next breakout room, I want, whatever you are experiencing, I really want you to hone in on the feelings behind that. So if you can really identify how that made you feel, whatever your situation was, I really want you to be able to identify that for the next breakout room. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Any questions before I move forward?
No, I didn't get what what I should do next breakout.
Oh, I'm going to go into that in the
Oh,
next.
okay.
Yeah. I'm just yeah, preparing you for it. Okay, so I do want to talk a little bit about being flooded because I see that in my session rooms, as you can imagine, when the conflict gets really heated. So when we are flooded, and maybe you've experienced this outside of today's example, we lose our ability to really engage in that constructive communication. So in other words, we stop listening to.
Mm.
So this is a danger zone for couples and communication, because when you're flooded, when you stop listening, you also get defensive. You can't hear the other person. Information is no longer coming through. There's like this block. So when this happens, we want to be able to regulate those emotions before moving forward with any conversation. And the way that we do this is by using some coping skills. So the Gottman's rule is you take a break from each other, and your break should be at least 30 minutes, but no longer than 24 hours. And then you agree on a time to come back and revisit the fight when you're both calmed down. During this break, you are to separate and engage in different activities altogether. Take your mind off the fight completely. We recommend doing a relaxing activity in order to self-soothe. So you can go for a walk, talk to a friend, listen to music, take deep breaths, whatever it takes to really calm down. And then you will come back together in a better place and able to re-engage in that conversation. Okay. And so once you're calm and we can do this intervention properly, I'm now going to introduce you to the intervention I use. It's called the Gottman-Rappaport intervention. This has a really interesting origin story. So Anatole Rappaport, he was a Russian immigrant, a PhD. He studied how to help people be more cooperative and applied what he learned to establishing international peace during the Cold War. He observed that diplomats could not listen to their opposition until they felt that their own position was validated first. And so the Gottmans borrowed his studies and applied it to couples, because when we see couples in our therapy room, it's like they're having their own war. So the goal in this intervention is to discuss a topic in a manner where you both feel understood by each other. We're going to focus on how you're feeling after having that first conversation in that breakout room. Again, this next activity, you're going to be both the speaker and the listener, and then you're going to switch, or you'll have one speaker, one listener, and then you'll switch. So you'll each play each role. Okay, so remember, before you can engage in persuasion, you each have to summarize your partner's position to your partner's satisfaction. So this is it's a deeper process than just active listening, because it requires you to really interview your partner, ask them these questions, ask those open-ended questions, find out more about what is really coming up for them, what were they really feeling in that moment. And then you have to be able to summarize it and validate your partner's position. During this process, we ask that you have an assumption of similarity. So if you find something you're attributing a positive trait to yourself, try to see that positive trait in your partner. If you find yourself attributing a negative trait to your partner, try to see some of that negative trait in yourself as well. Okay, so that's what the assumption of similarity means. For this activity, the speaker rules are: do not try to argue or try to persuade your partner of your point of view. Just explain how you see things, how you felt. Tell your partner your thoughts, your feelings about your position on this issue, about how you were feeling when they were not paying attention to you when you were speaking. Okay, so there's no blaming, no criticism, no contempt. Use I statements. Like, I feel hurt that you look distracted. Talk about feelings. And then I want you to state what you would need from them. A positive need, like, I need for you to please put down the phone when I'm speaking about something that's really important to me. Okay, positive need. The listener rules are: your task is to listen and ask questions and really attune to your partner. Postpone your own agenda. Hear the speaker's feelings. Be present with your partner. Your goal is just to understand their experience, not to agree or disagree, and not to argue your point. So again, it's asking questions. Summarize and reflect back what you hear. So a big part of listening is being present for your partner so that your partner doesn't feel so alone. A powerful way to be there for your partner is to identify and reflect back their feelings and restate what you heard them say using their own words. So it's really specific to the words they used. Don't try to interject your own words or interpret what they say with your own words. Use their words. So the goal is to be able to summarize the speaker's position to the speaker's satisfaction. And then you're going to validate, communicate understanding and empathy. Validation does not mean that you agree. It just means that you understand even just a small part of your partner's experience. So for example, you can validate and express empathy by saying something like, it makes sense to me how you saw this and what your perceptions and needs were. I get it. I can see why this upset you. And then check in with your partner. Do they feel understood? And if they feel understood, you can switch roles. If they're still feeling like they're not understood, ask, what do I need to know to understand your perspective better? Is there anything else? Did I get it? Right. So that's the checking in to make sure that they feel heard, they feel understood, and then you can switch your roles. Okay. I know that was a lot. So I have a little cheat sheet for everyone. If you want to take a screenshot of this or take a picture of this, of what each of the rules are for each role. And so for the second breakout session, I'm going to have you discuss your feelings about the first interaction, how the actions of the distracted listener affected you. I want you to use the Gottman-Rappaport intervention. This should take about 15 to 20 minutes total. So each person will get about 7 to 10 minutes to really talk about how you felt. If the first breakout room wasn't really relevant didn't really bring up any feelings for you, you can talk about something else that brought up feelings for you, and you can practice that conversation that way, if that's helpful.
So for instance, they could say, I feel whatever when someone interrupts me. It doesn't have to be that it happened in this situation. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. Thank you, Marina, for that clarification.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so we will have 15 minutes, so about 7.5 minutes each, because we want to leave time for comments and Q&A. Okay. Did everyone have a chance to take the screenshot? Is there any more questions before we go into our breakout? Okay, so you'll have a total of 15 minutes, and then I will send a message halfway through. All right, let me open the breakout rooms. All right. And pause the recording.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I hope everyone's feeling heard. So I just wanted to get some audience feedback. How was this experience different from the first breakout room? What thoughts and feelings did you experience in these conversations? And were you able to resolve any feelings using the tools? Or any other questions or observations that you had? So if you want to unmute and start speaking, anyone.
Well, okay, I'll go. It was good it was good to feel being heard, and knowing that at least I felt I had a long uninterrupted time to share, my feelings and thoughts. Something that I wish, when it's a objective person, not somebody that's directly involved with the concern I had, it certainly makes it a lot easier. You know, maybe when I'm the thing I shared, I'm going to eventually share with a particular person that I had an issue or concern with, and I guess maybe I'll try to visualize and affirm that that person is going to be as open and understanding as my good listener was.
Yeah, that's good practice for when you want to have it with that person you want to have that conversation with, right?
Right.
Yeah, and maybe there's a way that you can kind of set up the ground rules for this conversation with that person before you even have the conversation, right? And say, this is how I feel, or can we talk about our feelings right now? Because I want to hear what you feel, and I would like for you to hear what I feel. Maybe setting it up like that would be useful.
Mhm.
Mm. Well, I was going to take the chicken way and text her. But I was going to say I statements and whatever, but
Yeah.
anyway,
All right. Thank you for sharing, Patty.
yeah.
Well, this is Donna AV. I can't see everyone. Guess I should change my view. Um, I really appreciated. I was with
Chieko.
Chieko Grandstrom, and we both have lost our husbands in the same year, 2021, so about 4 years ago. And we this last activity we shared about our relationships was interesting. We had similar struggles over finances in our couple over the years. And it was we practiced the listening and the validation, and we did those things, and it was helpful to both of us, I think. And because we were talking about our husbands and our prior relationship with them, I felt it dealt with also grieving. Because even if that was a perpetual problem, we had gotten to a more mature place with it, and it sounded like her couple had too. And then you can start feeling that sense of, wow, being in a couple is really exciting, even if there is conflict, and that you can work through the conflict and get to a new level, and the love shifts, and there's a maturity of heart. That's so beautiful and wonderful. So it was deep, very deep sharing for me. I don't know about Chieko.
Yeah, I did it too. Oh, my husband was feeling like that with the first one. And the second one, well, that means when I'm ignoring speaker. But was it intentional or was it just he was relaxing or things like that? Anyways, the second one, it's really Donna helped me how it's just amazing to be understood. And I cannot talk things, not every topic to my children, but to talk openly in the protected space, it's really liberating my heart. Maybe my husband saying too. Thank you.
Thank you, Chieko.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing. That's so beautiful. What a beautiful conversation you had between the two of you. And it seemed like you really explored on multiple levels. You created a nice little rapport between the two of you, but also just reflecting back on each of your marriages. And like you said, Donna, that is part of the grieving process, right? All of that you talked about. So thank you so much for sharing that. That was really beautiful.
Thank you for providing the opportunity.
Of course. Anyone else want to share?
I just wanted to say that I wasn't in a breakout room this second time, But I think in my experience with Safe Conversations, which is a similar process, sometimes it helps to practice this with somebody else that you don't have baggage with, so that you can sort of figure it out and have a safe place that there won't be any triggers or anything like that. Sometimes it just really helps to do that.
It does. Thank you, Myrna. Practice. That's what
Yeah.
I say to my clients all the time. Practice, practice, practice. Whoever you need to practice this with, right? That list of siblings, coworkers, peers, friends, anyone. It really takes practice because it's a skill that we want to be able to hone. And we don't have to perfect it, but just keep practicing and keep trying, right? It's really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Good
Well,
point.
I think we have time for one more person, if someone else wants to share.
I I appreciated, Myrna, your discussion about cell phones because I'm flabbergasted about how cell phones are changing our society in every context.
Mm.
I've had a lot of health issues and had to go to waiting rooms, and people don't interact the same way, even in a waiting room for a doctor or in a grocery store or in a coffee shop. Even in restaurants, people will be at a table, all on their cell phones, not even talking to each other. And I'm blown away. And I'm understanding this thing about rules of engagement. Like we have a rule at the family. Everyone tries to make it to family dinner, even for a short time. If we can't, we let everybody know. And we don't have our cell phones there. Cannot have your cell phone.
Mhm.
So this rule of engagement seems so important to keeping healthy relationships and keeping conversation in as part of a healthy home, a healthy life, a happy life.
Mhm.
What do you think, Betty?
Absolutely. Yeah. The rules of engagement have changed. I notice it everywhere I go, and it makes me really sad because we've lost a lot of our social skills in that,
Mm.
right? Because we just think, oh, here's my phone, that's going to keep me entertained. I think all of us, but especially the younger generation, we're losing our ability to be bored.
Mm.
So important to just be bored because that is what that triggers that creativity, and the imagination and the wonderment and just observation of looking at things around you, paying attention, using all of our senses, right? If we don't allow ourselves to be bored, there's no luxury of that time to do that. We're always just distracted and entertained and engaged in some way. And it's hard to shut that down at the end of the night too. So our sleep is affected.
Mm.
It really has affected a lot of our lives, and we're just inundated by it. So it takes a lot of willpower and self-control to be able to put the phone down, put it away, maybe have a day where we don't have it, and be very intentional about how we interact with others, our family, strangers, right? Yeah, I found, especially after COVID, there was this just hunger for people to want to talk to each other, to engage, have some sort of a conversation, just strangers in the supermarket or just in the parking lot, whatever. There was definitely, I sensed a hunger there. And I think that we're lacking that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Betty. Maybe you wanted to share your last slide that has your contact information. Is that, oh, okay. And then if you want to take a screenshot of this or a photo, and I will also send it out in our follow-up newsletter. Thank you, everyone who could join us today. We will be taking a break from our webinar series for July and August because of summer. And I will send out the newsletter of what's upcoming in September. So, and thank you again, Betty. I really appreciated your presentation and application, and that can fit for couples or all of our other relationships. Thank you again.
Thank you, Myrna. Thank you, everyone. Nice meeting everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
All right, thank you. Okay, how do I?